And it's still loading. It hasn't even started yet.
The system is it's against us.
It's still loading. It's just a spinning wheel, dude.
Oh Jesus!
That's it.
Where's he at? Get in the fuck over here. Dude, we're at the shore.
Yeah. An error occurred. Wait a minute and then try again.
Oh yeah. People of color are taking over the pod. They don't want that. The man don't want that to happen.
Yeah, it's collusion.
Yeah, for sure.
You gotta get the Ivan Owens in here. They'll figure it out. Dude, it's still spinning. It won't. Oh, we are live.
There we go. We are live.
I gotta do the intro again.
MVP.
One in the air, left center field, back it goes, Harper, the swing of his life!
He never get ahead of himself. As
I know Randy do every day. It's always been that way for me. Always been a get better mentality every day, grow every day, be a better leader every day, be a better quarterback every day. And when that wrench do, I don't plan on missing no payments. So,
welcome everyone to 3 in the Keystone. This is episode 105. Better late than never. I'm Al Ryan. I'm joined by Chris Guest, and Chris, the streak is over.
Listen, ironically enough, on the 2-year anniversary. This is what we get from this guy. You know what I'm saying? He just jumped ship on the anniversary night.
Ironic indeed. We are, as you can tell by now, without Adam Seltzer, who he spent a day at the beach. He's checking in via X right now. We're going to go ahead and mute his chat so nobody has to see his comments tonight, because this is going to be, it's the Al and Chris show this evening. And we have a lot in store for you. We hope you enjoy it. So, Adam, go ahead and just mute yourself. Don't even consider typing anything else the rest of the night.
I mean, this brother's made it through like the snowstorms and the all kind of outages or whatever we've had over the 2 years.
I believe bubble guts.
Here we go, and he's ghost.
I believe the bubble guts a few times got him, and he
bubble guts. Yeah, that bubble gut. Hey, and that's debilitating, man.
That's serious stuff, especially when you're our age. That's you don't play with that.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, it's Monday and we are raw on here because we were trying to figure out the button before we went on, and we had that hot mic the first few seconds. There is no 7-second delay on 3 in the Keystone.
No,
we go right in it.
None whatsoever. Well, we try to go right in it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You don't know what you're going to get.
I just slipped in there by accident a little bit there, but we here now, so we're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, we got a lot in store for you tonight, guys. We've been talking a lot of Phillies, talking a lot of Sixers, and it's going to continue tonight. The Phillies dropped 2 of 3 in Atlanta. They get not much run support. The pitching does not look great down there in the deep South. And then we got the Sixers with another big signing. My man, the guy I wanted, Caleb Martin, is coming to Philadelphia. And then in segment 3, it's going to be a little bit of Chris's and my our thoughts on what are some overrated and underrated sporting events. But Chris, are you ready to get it started? Are you good to go?
I'm ready to roll, man. Let's get into it.
All right, well, let's get right to it. So as I said, the Phillies went down to Atlanta. They lose 2 of the 3 games down there. Atlanta goes ahead and they smack around our ace, Ranger Suarez, in one of the games.
Well, we talked about that a few weeks ago about if you know where he was in the pecking order here of all our pitching staff. And Al, we've both been very bullish on Ranger. But lately Ranger's been pitching like it looks like he's a little bit fatigued a little bit. I don't know. What do you think?
The one ball that, dude, who hit the home run? Was it Ozuna? Who hit the second home run off of him? Because that was just a lazy, hazy sinker that didn't sink. and just it was like that was the lollipop of lollipops. That reminded me of when who was it that served Cal Ripken up that meatball in his last All-Star game?
Oh, I forget. I remember what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
Yeah.
Left one right over a BP ball just in there for Cal to take deep. That's what that Suarez ball looked like.
Was it Albies?
It was Albies. It was Albies.
Yeah. Albies and Endo's going to do damage in that series.
And that swing on that ball was basically just let me drop the barrel of the bat down and make contact, and this thing's going to go. And that's all he did. It wasn't like a violent swing. He didn't need much. The way that ball just hung up in the zone.
I'll say this real quick while it's on my mind. So the first game where we won, and for the most part, we were pretty much in control of that whole game until the end when Alvarado gave up the home run. But dude, Ozuna is a troll, man. So they're down, what was it, 8-3? He hits the big home run, and you would have thought he won the world. Like, this guy's dancing around the bases, he's doing all kind of crazy. I mean, like, you're losing at the end of the game, and you're still trailing after that, and you're doing all these like crazy semantics. I don't know. Like, I'm all for having fun, but at the same time, like at the appropriate times, that just comes off like a clown move to me. Like that got me a little PO'd. Like if I was one of those pitchers on the Phillies, next time they see him, when we again, there might be some reckoning for that, in my opinion. Now I know these guys that grow up nowadays are different, but
yeah,
I can argue that before that.
I think 15, 20 years ago, you would be right.
Yeah.
I think Christopher Sanchez or Taijuan Walker, if and when he comes back, would be the perfect guy to throw a little up and in, little chin music.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll play devil's advocate here, and I'll say this. We've owned the Braves. We've owned the Braves, right? We knocked them out of the playoffs the last 2 seasons. We currently hold, what is it, a 7-game, something like that, lead over them in the division.
8 right now, yeah.
In another season where coming into the season, all of the pundits, all they wanted to talk about is how it's Atlanta's division once again, and the Phillies will be, fighting for that wild card spot. We've gone out there and we've punched them in the mouth now for the better part of the last 2 seasons. So in my opinion, I think, dude, like I like it because this is starting to feel like the rivalry that we had with the Mets in the late 00s and the early 2010s with the David Wright, Jose Reyes team, and obviously the Ryan Howard, Chase Utley team. It's starting to feel a little bit more like a rivalry and not just, oh, these are the 2 best teams going at it in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like there seems to be a little bit more heart.
So I'll say historically, even with the last few years, the series that we've had with the Braves last few years, it feels like that's a rivalry, but the Mets feels like a beef. Like there's a difference to me. Like there's a respected rivalry where like they might beat each other up throughout the season or things like that, and then they get to the playoffs and like you said, we've gotten the better of them for the last few years. But the Mets Phillies to me has got the boiled blood in it. That's the one. I don't think we have that with the Braves. Maybe because to your point, maybe because we have gotten the best of them when it matters. So it's not as much on us, that feeling. Maybe in Atlanta, they're different. However, Atlanta's the worst pro sports city in America. So they probably don't even realize that even happened 2 years in a row.
Right. No, I agree with you. And I think part of the issue with this not being so much of a rivalry as it is with us and the Mets is that I don't think Atlanta's players or fans have taken it that way either. I think they kind of look at us because of the domination in the 90s. I know that was a long time ago, but Atlanta dominated that division for the better part of a decade and a half.
Yeah.
I think they're just starting to come to terms with the fact that like Philly's here and we're back and we're not going anywhere. And we're going to be trading punches now, probably for the next 5, 6, 7 years at the top of that division. I almost think you with you saying that, it kind of made me think of, it's almost like those years when NC State basketball was trying to make a mark and Maryland basketball was trying to make a mark in the ACC, and you always have Duke, Carolina, but then like Maryland was trying to peek in there and they were being pesky a couple of years. Like I said, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's not the rivalry, but there still is that hatred. There still is that like, hey, we're going to be able to take it to you, we're going to be able to knock you out of the ACC tournament. We're going to be able to knock you out of potentially the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and there's always the one team that cares more about it than the other.
Yes.
In a rivalry. But again, with a beef, I feel like the New York fans and the Philly fans, it goes into the Phillies Mets, it goes into the Sixers Knicks, it goes into the Eagles. Like it's just through and through across the Phillies and the Flyers and the Rangers.
Yeah.
Like it just carries throughout all four sports and just boils up year after year. And when both cities are good in their respective sports, the beef is the pot's boiling.
Well, double the beef. That's when you double the beef.
Double the beef is right. And so I think that's even more fun, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas the Braves, it's almost like it's kind of like how in football, like we're supposed to hate Dallas, right? I'll be honest. I don't like them, right? But at the same time, I don't really that's a rivalry to me. That's not as much of a team beef because it's really with the fans, not the teams themselves as much. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like I feel like with the Eagles Giants, it's more of a because they're closer in proximity geographically and all that kind of stuff. That plays into it too. Atlanta and Philly are just not relatively close. So Dallas and Philly, same thing. But they have cockroach fans too, the Braves. They've got some cockroach fans up here.
Yeah, Atlanta's full of them.
Yeah. So, but that place, man, if you watch the series, for those out there that are listening that watched it, I thought that crowd is like a library. Like there was no jam, as Peter Laviolette would have said. There's no jam in that building at all.
We need a little bit of jam.
There's no jam. And like you're still, I know that when the series started, I know they were 10 games or whatever it was back of us, but that's the time to make an imprint, start making inroads and get hyped up for what you got left. I mean, we still have plenty of season to go, and that place was a snooze fest throughout the whole, even on Sunday, I thought it was a snooze fest.
Well, as much as we have plenty of season to go, we talked about it last week, Atlanta doesn't have that many more shots against us.
Not against us, no, because of the way the season, the schedule structure nowadays.
Yeah, so they better start treating those games as almost like pseudo playoff games when you're playing a team that you're looking up in the standings at, right?
Yeah.
Chris, let me ask you this. What's your biggest concern, or do you even have one from taking away from that you're taking away from that series after watching those three games? Is there something that maybe, last week we were on the same page. We said our concern was 1 or 2 out of 10. Right. Is there anything that stood out to you in those 2 losses in Atlanta that maybe you're like, that might be something that creeps back up now?
No, not really, because the reason, I mean, aside from game 1, game 2 and 3, we got a total of 1 run. And that's because that lineup we put out there, in my opinion, was whack. Like we had maybe 3 dudes that we can rely on to hit. And if Castellanos isn't on, 4. And if Castellanos isn't on, we really only got 3, and they're all at the top of the order. So basically you go from potentially 4 and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You can't rely on any of those guys to make big impacts offensively in games. You might get some performances here and there from different guys scattered, but to expect those guys to come through in the same game or the same series, the Paches, the Rojases, even Marsh, so like those guys, like, do we love them? Yeah, but we can't rely on. I mean, we basically have 5 bench guys at that point in time littered throughout that lineup. And it's going to stand out even more when we play better pitching teams like the Braves, like the Dodgers. Like that's why it's so important. I know Seltzer was saying last show about how it's important that we don't rush some of those guys back. I think at this point in time, I'm happy to see Bryce and Kyle tomorrow. The rumors are right now that they're going to be back in the lineup tomorrow against the Dodgers. And I think we need that. I think we need a little bit of that momentum, that juice going to close out the first half of the season, because you don't want to go in an all-star game stale, losing 7 out of 9 or whatever the case may be with a big losing streak. You don't want to do that. So you want to stop the bleeding now before it gets out of hand and then all of a sudden you're saying you lost a series to the Dodgers, or maybe even got swept by the Dodgers, and then you laid an egg against Oakland because we just didn't have any dudes in the lineup. You don't want to go down that road. So get these guys back, get them into a rhythm, and go into that All-Star break, which really isn't even a break for us because we balling. Somebody got 7 of them things. We got 7 of them brothers going to the All-Star game. So it's like a Phillies game in by itself. But get those guys in a good headspace.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I also had the lineup written down, but it's still not a concern for me. I think it just stands out more because of who we played. We played Atlanta, and now we're playing LA, two of the top 3 teams in the NL, along with the Phillies. But looking at that lineup, especially on Sunday, when Brandon Marsh is batting cleanup, like that I was having shades of like the 2017 Phillies and like Cesar Hernandez, Freddie Galvis, and Aaron Altair in the lineup. Like that was a really bad lineup. So I think the health, obviously it's not a concern long term because none of these injuries are long-term concerns. But it just, the timing was bad. For me, I got to be honest, Chris, I'm more concerned about the pitching. And
yeah, I would, if anything, that's what I would be a little bit, because some of those guys I think are just need a little bit of this All-Star break's coming at the right time for some guys.
Yeah, look, it's the dog days of summer.
Yeah.
We know that. We also know that our top 4 pitchers, Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Ranger Suarez, Christopher Sanchez, any order you want to put them, we all know we can say that they've been pitching above their level. They've been pitching beyond their mean. So this is a little bit of a regression to the mean. But I looked at their numbers, and each of those 4 starters for the Phillies, they've each had a game where they've given up 6 or more runs since June, and they all have higher ERAs since June versus overall for the season. So do you understand what I'm saying? So there is a little bit of regression to the mean there, and hopefully that skids to a stop and we get a little bit more of a normalcy where, okay, obviously we're not going to see Christopher Sanchez isn't going to give up 1 home run for the entire season.
Right.
Ranger Suarez isn't going to have a .75 whip for the entire season. Right. But we have to avoid these total bomb games that we've now been seeing out of our starters since the month of June.
And I'll say this to answer your question ultimately. What I am a little bit concerned of is, and it sounds really pompous and foolish, honestly, but I'm concerned about it, is are these guys being up so much? Are they going to lose that adrenaline, especially the bullpen? Because bullpen guys feed off of adrenaline when they come into games. And we've seen Alvarado yesterday, this weekend wasn't, or I'm sorry, not yesterday, Friday. Gave up the big home run, didn't look sharp. A couple of these guys didn't look as sharp as they normally do, Strom and all that kind of stuff. So, like, do you think it's possible that they are not feeling that pressure when they come into games to the point where they're kind of lax and losing their eye off the ball, pardon the pun?
That's not a bad point. I think this team is so well built as far as they're an emotional team. They're
That's
not
my point, right?
Yeah. They're not a like a Yankees where it's like this is business.
Right.
They're an emotional team. So I don't hate that angle. I can see that where they've almost gotten comfy. We've built the lead. We're looking into the All-Star break, a little bit of a June swoon. Hopefully that is it because it's like, I know he's not doing it, but when Jose Alvarado enters the game, it seems like he's letting a runner on every time he's in the game in the last month or so. I know he's not. I've looked at the numbers. I've watched him play, but it just seems like it. Like
it does.
I don't feel as safe with him on the mound as I normally do.
And it's weird because I agree with you, but then you've got guys who scare me to death, like Soto and Dominguez, who have actually quietly had really good month and change in that pen. So, like, it's a funny thing, man. And the season is so long, and like it's so demanding physically, mentally, emotionally. And I'm just wondering if these guys are like, oh, we're up 10 games. We lose, we lay an egg tomorrow, whatever, or tonight, whatever. That's fine. We'll get them tomorrow. And then it's like, oh, well, whatever. At least we get one. We won't get swept. We'll be fine. And then, like, all of a sudden, that kind of stuff can add up. And then you start finding yourself having to turn it back on really quick, go 0 to 60.
Right.
And then that's also when people might get hurt. You know what I'm saying? And those kind of things. So that's one thing I would just want to be careful of with this group. They are on a mission. Like you said, they are very much an emotional group. And I hope that they get some rest. And the guys that are going to be in Texas playing in the All-Star game have a good game, have a good experience, come back fired up to lead the charge, and just blow the doors off the A's.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice. So putting that
But
behind,
not the A's, who we play? I'm sorry, we played the A's before the All-Star break, right?
Yeah.
That's the last team I think before.
Yeah.
Who we play it right after that? It's the
I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know. I can
Yeah.
look. But looking beyond now, the Braves. We have a 3-game series at home.
Pittsburgh. That's what.
Pittsburgh. We have a 3-game series at home against the LA Dodgers. Shohei is coming to town. It's not Santa. It's Shohei. We have Zach Wheeler on the mound in the first game, taking on Bobby Miller. Bobby Miller, if you don't know who that is, you're like me because I don't either. He's one.
He's a nice pitcher. He's a nice prospect. Yeah, but he's this year he's so far his ERA is a little up, but he can show some flashes. But we got Zach though. Like they got to handle Zach. We'll see. I don't know if they can handle. Nobody's been able to handle him for the most part this year. So,
dude, I don't know like what the numbers are on like percentages, like the percentage of the time that a team wins when their ace plays. But I would imagine when you're pitching your ace at home and you're a team like the Phillies and your ace is a guy like Zach Wheeler, you got to win 80% of the games, right?
I mean, right now they're at minus 142 to win on tomorrow night. So, like, Vegas likes us, and
Vegas doesn't love us though. That's not a huge line.
No, but in that kind of matchup, I'll still take it. I mean, that's the two titans of the National League. So, I mean, it could always be even. It could be even minus 120 or 110 or something like that. But 142 against the Dodgers, I mean, I think that's all right.
Yeah,
that's gonna be a fun series,
especially with the uncertainties in the lineup, right?
Exactly, right. That's exactly And so you got Zach tomorrow, you got Sanchez Wednesday, and then you have Aaron on Thursday.
Right. So you have Sanchez going up against Gavin Stone, who's quietly, or maybe not quietly, I don't know, having a great season. Kid's 9-2.
Yeah.
With a 3.03 ERA. And then you got Landon Knack in the third game of the series going up, as you said, against Aaron Nola. Landon Knack 1-2, but a 2.86 ERA and a whip under 1. So we could have some pitching duels at the bank this week. Hopefully, if the weather holds out. I know that storms are in the forecast over the next couple of days. But what predictions do you have, or what would you like to see out of the Phillies in these next 3 games and even beyond, Chris?
I mean, if they can simply just win the series, win 2 out of 3, just show. I've mentioned this before on the show with you guys. It's important, I think, for that team as well as the league to see the Phillies win series against good teams and even great teams. Like, you're not going to win every series. We've seen that. We've lost. We dropped to the Orioles. We've dropped to Boston. We dropped to different teams, American League teams, and we dropped to Atlanta this weekend. But this is a series being at home, and hopefully, like we said, getting two of our stars back. We got to take care of business. We got to flex a little bit.
Yep.
And so for me, if they can just win this series, that's all I'm asking for. You ideally would expect to sweep the A's. You would expect that.
Yeah.
So if we can win 2 out of 3, we're looking at 5-1 this week, going into the All-Star break. That's what I want. That's what I'm looking to have for these guys.
Yeah, and that'll put us right at that. I think we said like 10-5, 11-4 over these last couple weeks, a couple pods ago. I think we said that. Yeah. I'm with you, Chris. I think that if we are truly the cream of the NL crop, or at the top, at least in the top 2 or 3, then you have to beat the Dodgers You have to win the series. I would like to see it be kind of a little bit of a like no worries situation, like almost where like we get Wheeler a bunch of runs in the first and second inning, and then he can just put it on cruise control.
Yeah.
The Dodgers have lost 2 of their last 3 series, actually, both against division rivals, San Fran and Arizona. And in their losses over that stretch of time, they've only averaged about 3 runs a game. So they're a little bit inconsistent on offense as of late. They're 5-5 in their last 10.
I was going to say they're only playing 500 ball the last 2 weeks.
Yep. I would love to see, especially if you're talking about potentially a rotation where we have 4 guys who are playing like aces or second in the rotation guys. When you have 3 of them up for this series, then you got to put your money where your mouth is, and you got to beat the Dodgers. So I'm with you, Chris. I want 2 or 3 from LA minimum, and I want a sweep of Oakland heading into the break. Are you heading down to the ballpark at all? Are you going to be able to get down there for one of these games? See Shohei?
Yeah, I ain't going nowhere with you. I would love to. We got to start getting. I don't think that would be something that we'd be able to do at this point in time, together with the girls. But no, we probably won't be able to head down there. But that's gonna be a fun for those that are. That's gonna be a fun few games.
You got to check out some of the giveaways, because with the Twins, you're double dipping. Talk about double the beef. You're getting double the giveaways. You can get 2 of the Schwarber beach towels. You can get 2 of the, I think it's Castellanos t-shirts later on this season. 2 bobbleheads.
Now pause on that for a second, because
I slipped it in there. Moving on to segment 2.
The Castellanos thing is funny to me because my man can't even get a baseball jersey. Why are they doing a basketball shirt?
He gets that local 98 IBEW sponsored basketball jersey too. It's got like a big electric bolt on the front.
Yeah. I was like, what is that about? I mean, not that I'm not the biggest Castellanos fan at this point, but I just thought it was kind of funny. Like, come get the Nick Castellanos basketball jersey,
dude.
And then you get the Tyrese Maxey Flyers jersey at the opener for the Sixers game. Like, what are we doing?
Who would wear? I don't understand what
exactly.
Like, what? Who does that appeal to?
That's my point. Like, who's going to be like, I got to get that Nick Castellanos basketball jersey. Like, I got to get that. Like, I don't strange. But I'm sure people will love it. They'll be up there for it. But,
I could see, not the stereotype, I could see that being like a big South jersey right over the bridge. Like maybe like Washington Township thing.
I mean,
nasty basketball jersey. Yeah.
It's going down to play ball down the shore or something with it on. Like you have like your little gold chain with it. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole thing. Kind of like how he would probably wear if he was going in that kind of environment. Well, he'd probably rock a basketball jersey with no shirt underneath, with taco meat and the gold chain.
Oh, he definitely won. And actually, a friend of ours here, Agent Uno, checking in. It'll be big in Sea Isle. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The question is, will it be bigger than the Caitlin Clark jersey? Now, I haven't been in Sea Isle yet, but I would imagine that there's been at least, I would say 3. You think 3 over a 4th of July weekend? Caitlin Clark jerseys?
Oh man, you think there's a big? I don't know. I haven't thought about that. You might be right.
That's a hot item. And what did she got like 700,000 votes for the All-Star game, which is like record breaking by like leaps and bounds for the WNBA All-Star game.
I remember they had where was I not that long ago, and they were still selling her Iowa jersey, and it was not on clearance or anything. They were selling it. So, man, that's an interesting debate there about the Clark versus the Castellanos basketball jersey. Who would win in a game?
Or the true heel, the Angel Reese jersey.
I was going to say, you think there's any heels out there that rock the Angel Reese or the Kennedy Carter?
Oh, that's a huge. Oh, forget
just walking down the boardwalk, just throwing bows on people. Could you imagine?
Well, real quick, Chris, let's wrap it up here. We just mentioned the All-Star game, WNBA All-Star game, but we said earlier the Phillies. We have 7 All-Star participants. Let me see if I can rattle them all if I didn't write them down. We got Bryce Harper. We got Trey Turner. We got Ranger Suarez. We got Zach Wheeler. We got Uncle Jeff. And we got Matt Strom. And who did I forget? Boom. Alec Boom.
Boom. Yeah.
We got Alec Boom, who will also be representing us in the home run derby for some reason. Right? We We imagine he thought it was like a line drive competition or like a get a hit with
Doubles.
runners on competition, and he just signed on the wrong line.
He said he was amped up as soon as they asked him from just like being a kid and stuff, watching it and playing it in the yards and stuff when he was growing up. He said, I had never thought twice about it once they asked me, which is great for him. But I don't know if it would be great for us.
No, because I mean the fear is that he's going to Bobby Abreu his swing.
I'm just saying for us, meaning any baseball fans. I don't know how many he's got in that environment.
The collective fanship in general.
You remember back when we were kids and Mike Piazza was notorious for not being able to hit a home run in the home run derby? Do you remember that?
No.
He had a couple years where he had a goose egg. And I think the one they were like at the point, I think it was like 96, 97, and they were like laughing on the broadcast because he just couldn't get one. And he was like, I'm done. I can't do this. I'm not built for this. I'm not doing this anymore. And like it was all playful and stuff. But meanwhile, on the other end of the spectrum, we got that troll Pete Alonso who takes it too seriously.
Dude, he's the worst.
He'll be in there again this year. So,
he's so unlikable, dude.
Oh, so unlikable. Remember he was like in the bowels of the stadium practicing his swing for when he was like, dude, it's a freaking exhibition thing, man. Like it's for fun. Who cares?
Yeah. I have a confession to make, though. I have not sat and watched the home run derby since they moved it to the timed event. Like I've never sat and watched the event all the way through. I've watched clips and I've watched around here and there, but I never watched the whole thing.
Well, we might hear that might not be the last time we hear about the home run derby in this broadcast.
Oh,
so we'll put a pause on that. But I do want to tell you real quick because while we're on the subject of All-Star, this year ended Mike Trout's 10 straight years of being winning the fan vote at his position. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
So he's the only active player to win the fan vote 10 straight times. Now, with that being said, Al, real quick, I wanted to ask you, there's 8 other dudes that won the fan vote historically at least 10 times.
At least 10 times, not consecutive.
10 or more, yeah. Do you think, aside from Trout, do you think you could get some of those dudes? Some of the guys, you'd be surprised.
Well, wait, are we talking fan vote at their position or the overall number one vote getter?
No, it's at their position.
Oh, okay. So Jeter.
Hold on, because I'm scrolling through the list here. Jeter's not on here.
All right, I'm out. What about
Jeter? Where is he though? He's got to be like.
You would think he'd be up there.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he did have to go against A-Rod for.
That's probably what it was because
number of years.
A-Rod, he didn't make the list. Spoiler alert. He had 9 A-Rod.
Okay.
So they probably did go back and forth with that. That's
all right.
probably why.
So Dick Pole.
Dick Pole he did not make the list.
Burrell, no. Griffey obviously made the list.
Griffey did make the list. Griffey was 11 straight years from 1990 to 2000.
I would imagine the aforementioned Mike Piazza.
Mike Piazza. I think I just saw him. He did. He had 9 also.
Damn,
he was
really?
94 to 02. He had 9. Yeah, that's still incredible. But
so
he was.
I said Pudge.
Pudge was 9 also.
Wow, so 10's hard.
Yeah, like I said, it's only been 8 dudes.
Frank Thomas, the big hurt.
Nah, Frank Thomas. I don't see him on there. No, he didn't do it.
All right, let me get like 1 or 2 more guesses. And then Ozzie Smith.
Ozzie Smith, I believe. Yes, he is on here. Tied for 5th, 10 seasons, 1983 to 1992. Also, it says that the 10-season streak was embedded in a 13-season Gold Glove streak.
Oh boy! And then I'll take his AL counterpart. I'll take Cal Ripken.
Cal Ripken was second most. He had 13. Yeah. So from 89 to 01.
Okay. All right. For the sake of time, who else was on that list?
So I'll go from the bottom up. So we had, let me get down there. We had Mike Trout, which we talked about. Also tied with Mike Trout for 10 in a row was Wade Boggs.
Oh.
From 87 to 96 between the Red Sox and Yankees. Ozzie Smith, we talked about, also was tied with 10. Johnny Bench of the Reds from 69 to 78 was tied with 10. The late, great Willie Mays, 10 seasons from 57 to 66. He also was top 6 in MVP voting in all 10 of those seasons and won an NL Gold Glove in those as well. Griffey, we talked about, was third most with 11, tied with George Brett. George Brett from the Royals, 76 to 86 for 11 seasons. Cal Ripken, 13 seasons. And then the most ever by a wide margin with 18 straight seasons from 1967 to 1984. Seltzer dropping the ball again here, not being on this broadcast to talk about his Jewish counterpart here, Rod Carew. Rod Carew between the Twins and the Angels, 18 straight seasons of being the top vote getter from the fan vote at his position, second base and first base. So that was interesting.
I don't mean to be offensive in any way. Do we think that is because of his Jewish heritage?
It very well could be.
Right.
It very well could be.
And I mean this because the same way like Ichiro Suzuki would, you know what I mean, get so many votes because he was the Japanese player at the time, the big Japanese player in baseball.
It's very possible.
Or Yao Ming in the NBA.
Right.
Yeah.
The fun stat about Rod Carew, aside from being 18 straight seasons as the top vote getter for his position, of the players I talked about on the list, he is the only one who never made an all-star team as a reserve. Every time he made it, it was as a starter.
Okay.
So he was never the dude that was just like, oh, Rod, you want to be on a bench for the all-star game? Nah, I'm good. He was always put in by the fans.
Good for
so
Rod.
He's the only one on that list that can say that.
Yeah. Good for Rod.
Pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, as we continue on the ADHD episode of so with no one to reel in our shenanigans tonight.
The plane is just swerving, man. It's swerving. But we're going to land it.
We're about to hit turbulence.
We're going to land it.
We're going to move into some NBA talk as our 76ers. Once again, listen, first of all, apologies are in order, Chris. Are they not to Daryl?
We'll see.
Apologies are in order. I mean, look, we as early as last summer, we started looking at this summer and the free agent list because we knew about the cap space and everything else that the Sixers had going on. And all we kept talking about was how there's no one that we can get. There's no one available. And all they did was quietly go out and arguably have the best offseason so far.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely in the conversation. I still, with the apologies, I would still hold off on that right now.
Okay.
Because I still feel like we need another ball handler. Yeah. I still feel like we need another rebounder, which could come if we can trade for or sign another power forward. I know they're talking about Caleb Martin being the power forward in the starting lineup. I would be more comfortable with doing that against certain matchups than I would just every single game. Right. I'm a little bit old school in that. Even now with today's NBA having a stretch four, I still need somebody to be able to board.
Right, especially in a team that historically we don't do well.
Can't. Right.
Well, let's start with Caleb Martin. So Caleb Martin is a guy that I had touted that I wanted to see sign with the Sixers, but I had said that with reservation because knowing that he had the player option, it looked like he was going to stay in Miami, but then his agent goes ahead and nixes, was it a 5-year, $65 million deal to stay with the Heat? He goes ahead and he takes a deal for less with Philly. What are your thoughts about the signing? Where do you see him fitting in? I know you just talked a little bit about him being a stretch four and maybe not fitting the mold as far as being a tough guy and a bruiser and being able to get some boards. But do you see him being able to flourish in Philly the way he kind of has in Miami these last couple of years, especially in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think he could definitely do that. I think that's a big reason why they wanted him is because, and not only does he flourish in the playoffs, he flourished against the Celtics.
Yep.
And I think that's a big deal. Even we've talked about like even times when Maxey has struggled a little bit with Boston's defense in big games. And so for Caleb Martin to come out there and play so well against them and the guys they have defensively, I think is a huge reason why we got him. I like the signing. I wanted him for around what they got him at, around between like 7.5 and 9.5. I was comfortable with. When we heard that he was looking for 15 a year, that was just ludicrous. There was no way I would have been comfortable with paying him that amount of money per year. And obviously, I wasn't alone with that. It seems like all the GMs felt the same way. So that $8 million is about where he belongs. I was surprised that it was a 4-year deal. Because I know that a lot of times right now, this team that Daryl's been building like 2 years with one, like, 1-and-1 deals where it's one guaranteed, one with an option for the player. So I was surprised that they want to build a little bit with Caleb, which is cool. Get him some consistency here and stuff like that, hopefully. But I like the signing, and also just statistically looking at his stats during the regular season. I mean, he's had his points per game has gone up basically every year he's been in the league. And I'm looking now, his assists have gone up. Not that he's going to be a big distributor, but I mean, he can do a little bit from that position. He's going to give you around 4 or 5 rebounds a game. But again, not someone that you're going to depend upon to board the ball.
Right.
And I would just love if he was our first forward piece off the bench, I would adore this move. I'd like it, but we'll see how it plays out. Because I like I said, I think we still need a guy that can board and another ball handler at the guard position too. But we'll see how they're not finished yet because they still got to finish the full roster out. So we'll see what else happens in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think he offers us versatility, right? So
yes,
he's a versatile defender. He's not an all-world defender by any means, but he's long. Right, I think you said he's only 6'6" or something like that, but he has a 6'11",
6'5", yeah.
Yeah, he has a 6'11", 7-foot wingspan, so he has one of those freakishly long, wingspans. He's a great catch and shoot guy, and he shoots over 40% on open threes, which I think is important because he's joining a team now where he should get a lot of open looks, being probably the fourth option at any given time on the floor. So I'm with you. I see him as like a low-end starter, high-end second-team guy. If you look at his numbers and you look at his playoff numbers, this is what I really like, is that his playoff numbers go up every time from the regular season into the playoffs. He goes from being, around like a mid-30 to high 30% three-point guy to in 2022, 2023, he was up to 42% from three. Just this past season, he's up to 44% from three. We talked about Lauri Markkanen. And one of the major concerns about bringing him in was that you're bringing in a guy with no playoff experience onto a team that we yearn for dogs. We need guys with experience, right? Caleb Martin in 3 seasons in the NBA. Do you know how many games he has played in the playoffs in just 3 seasons?
I mean, I would venture to guess. I don't know in front of me. I would just guess like 19.
He has 45 games played in the playoffs. 45. And a lot of it is because of the finals run 2 years ago, right? 23 games in that run. But 45 games, and that's with only 5 last season. 45 games played in the playoffs. Joel Embiid has 59. He's right behind Joel Embiid in 3 seasons in the league. So you're talking about a guy who's going to be comfortable being there, albeit obviously he's never been, he's not the guy. So we're not going to expect him to be like, this guy that drags everybody, pick up the bootstraps, that kind of thing. But he's going to be able to provide some leadership because he's going to be the only guy on the roster that's been to the NBA Finals, right? He's going to be a guy that knows what it takes to beat Boston. These are intangibles that I think you can't put a price on as far as, what you're bringing in as a 4th option and a 5th option.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember off memory. I think he had one of those games at TD Garden, I believe. He went off for like 26 or something on Boston, didn't he?
You give me a
second. He had one of those big, like, ridiculous games out of nowhere. I gotta look that up. But again, like we said, that's a big reason. At least for me, why I was intrigued by him is his success in the postseason and against Boston and things like that, and that'll help. That having that someone with that experience in our locker room and on our team to do some damage with that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we both agree. I mean, we didn't say we were going to give it grades. I would give this an A.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
I'm biased because it's the guy that I've been touting for part of a month, so I have to give it an A. Yeah,
I mean, I would. Again, if he's going to be this, so right now, what are you looking at? You're looking at Maxey for your starting five. You're looking at Maxey, and then who's our two right now? You don't think that McCain or
no
Gordon? I don't think that.
That's a role yet to be filled.
That's what I'm saying. So we still got some work to do, and then you got George, Martin, and Embiid.
Or Oubre. You throw Oubre in the mix.
Oubre is probably the guy that they would put in right now. Yeah.
Right now, as the team stands right now, yes.
And again, I would be so much more comfortable with Oubre as our sixth man, personally. But I know he had a good run with the defensively against the Knicks. He was pretty good on Brunson and those guys. And he left a little bit to desire offensively in that series, but that's partly because he was playing so much defensively and playing, putting all the energy in that side of the floor. But yeah, I mean, that's a really good group. Is it a championship group? That remains to be seen. But I think that's a really good group, and it's a better group than a lot of other teams can say they have right now. I'll tell you that much.
Again, I started this segment saying I apologize to Daryl Morey. I think this is probably the best collection of talent he could have acquired to this point, and the job's not done.
Right.
So let's move on to that, Chris. What would you like to see happen next? And I don't mean next as in tomorrow, next week, 2 weeks from now. I mean next as far as just between now and the trade deadline.
Oh.
What would you like? Yeah, because listen, let's be honest. Look at what's left as far as power forwards go, or as far as ball handlers go, backup guards that we would be able to afford and sign. There's not. It's slim pickings. We've been talking about this for weeks. So I'm looking at now a scenario where we were able to keep all these first round picks that we've been able to stash. Right. So who is a guy? Who's a guy that you would target potentially bringing in by the trade deadline, whether by hook or by crook? So whether it's by signing or via a trade. Put on your insider cap, Chris.
It would it would be a power forward. It would be one of those stretch forwards that can shoot, defend, and board. Now I know it's asking a lot, and those guys don't fall off trees. But you know who it is. I mean, my focus right now has been on the here and now with free agency and things like that. If they traded for a guy, like you said, they still have some pieces where other teams might be interested in taking those picks and dishing us a power forward that meets that criteria. But as far as a free agent right now, I'm still looking at Precious Achiuwa's out there. We've seen him with Toronto over the years. We've seen him with the Knicks last year. Somebody maybe we could, put in different positions to be able to get to the glass and do some dirty work for us. But as far as trade pieces, man, that's a tough one because you never know what the season's going to bring once you're in the season, as far as who's going to be available and who's not going to be available. So if they can find a way to flip, for me, it would have to also be flipping those picks for a guy that you have control for a while. I don't want to just flip those picks for a rental. I want a guy where we can have at least 2 seasons. So I'd have to go through the market and see who that potentially could be. But I mean, do you have anybody you were thinking about?
Well, I think one of the problems with the trade route is making the money work, right? Because we're going to enter the season right up against the ceiling, I would imagine, of the cap once we fill out these last couple roster spots. And there's not going to be any room for movement. Who can you trade now when you've gone out and you've signed these guys, the Paul Georges, and You had to re-sign Tyrese, obviously, and you signed a Caleb Martin. Who can you now move? Because I have a guy. It's a guy that you mentioned in the past that Adam and I kind of gave you grief about.
Uh-oh. Don't do it.
John Collins.
Yes. Yes. Thank
John,
you. You coming around.
dude, John Collins is just sitting there in
He's
Utah,
there.
wasting away, doing nothing. He plays defense. He rebounds. I mean, he can put the ball in the bucket like as a fifth option. Absolutely, he can do that.
He played well in the postseason with Atlanta when they were there a couple years back.
He really
He's
did.
not afraid of that moment. The one thing about Collins is he's a free agent after this coming season. So next summer he'll be a free agent. But the reason why I'd still be open to that now via trade is because right now he's going to make $25 million.
Yep.
All right. And then his player option kicks in at 26.5.
Yeah.
Now he'll probably buy into that. So you're going to have him for 2 years. But like you said, the money, I don't know how that's going to work because the NBA, you got to have a doctorate to figure out the aprons and the luxury taxes and this and that. And I don't know how that will work out. But just as far as a dude, that's a guy I've been on for a while now that I just think he would be Philly would love him. I really believe that. His athleticism, being able to do more than you think he can do on the floor. He can shoot a little bit. I mean, he's not going to be a world beater from three, but he can nail an open shot. And just his personality. Like, I just think he'd be a good, and he's only 20. I think he's 27. So
Yeah,
he's not old either. He can grow into the organization still. I would do it in a minute. And like you said, I don't know what his price. I mean, if you're talking about marketing, obviously we know he's going to be worth a lot. And to the point where they're saying right now he probably won't be moved because it makes more sense for them to move him later, actually. But Collins, I can't imagine them not being willing to talk about him at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if he's going to end up just sticking around and costing them money, right? Because like he's going to opt in to that year after this year is up,
right? And that's the reason why I would think they'd want to trade him because they don't want to end up having to even have that conversation.
Right. Now I tried to tinker around
to figure out a way to.
Yeah, I tried to tinker around on the NBA trade machine, but unfortunately you can't yet because they don't have any of the updated rosters or the updated moves. They just have last year's roster. So
too many cap holds and poison pills and all kind of stuff.
Started on the bird rights. Yeah, right. I can't even begin to get into it. So the only other guy, Chris, that I looked at as a potential trade target, and you probably know more about him than I do, and I'm sure Adam does as well, is from the Toronto Raptors. It's Chris Boucher.
Yeah. $10
million.
Seltzer knows I'm a big Boucher guy. But
yeah, he's $10 million cap space. I mean, he plays defense, he rebounds again. Like I just said with Collins, obviously he's not as polished as Collins. He's probably not really going to give you as much on the offensive end.
He could stroke it though. Pause.
We need a rebounder. We need a defender.
Yeah, he's definitely a guy that, and he played for Nick Nurse.
Yep.
But Nick Nurse and him I feel like he played himself in and out of Nick Nurse's doghouse sometimes. So I don't know if Nick's going to be a fan of getting Boucher at this point. They may have already had that conversation, Daryl and Elton and Nick, and maybe Nick squash. I don't know. Maybe he squashed it already. They've mentioned Dorian Finney-Smith as an option. He's a stretch four. I don't know if I'm willing to give up those kind of assets for Dorian Finney-Smith though. That's the only thing for me. And he's another one. He's owed 13. I think it's 13.8 this year, and then he has the player option next year at 15.5. So you could potentially have him for more than 1 year, but that's a pretty penny for a guy that's decent. But I mean, I don't think he moves the needle for me. I'd take him at this point, but I mean, he's not. I'm not going to jump up for joy. I would just think it was all right. We got Finney-Smith, but we'll see how that goes. But other than that, man, I'll tell you one guy. via trade if they don't have a good season. And the only way that would happen, I think, is if somebody significantly, one of their stars gets hurt, which is possible with this team. But Bobby Portis,
Mm-hmm.
I think Bobby Portis, you talk about a Philly type of player, a dog. Bobby Portis, I mean, everywhere he's been, he has been a fan favorite. He can do whatever you need to do on the court. He can get down and dirty. He can dive for loose balls. He can jump into the crowd. He can shoot a three. He can dunk. He can get into a scrap. Whatever you want him to do, he's there. He's around 12 million. Plus, he gets into a player option the following year for 13. But will Milwaukee want to trade him to the Sixers? Probably not. But sometimes these GMs will surprise you.
That's why I don't have him on my list, because I can't see Milwaukee doing that. I can't see Milwaukee being sellers at the trade deadline the year after they make the move to bring in Damian Lillard. What do you know what I mean? That's just a terrible look for the franchise. And Bobby Portis, one of his nicknames on Basketball Reference is the mayor of Milwaukee. So I don't know if he's going anywhere.
Hey, it's a business, bro.
Yeah,
it's a business. But I mean, put it this way: if he was a free agent this summer, he'd be like top 3 dudes that I would target.
Yeah,
based on fit and need for what we need to have with this team.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I like Bobby Portis. I like him a lot. All right, let's wrap this up, Chris. We'll make this a little bit quicker than we thought we were going to. But do you have any teams other than the Sixers that you believe got better as of right now, Monday, July 8th, 10 p.m. Eastern time? Any teams that got better via free agency and the draft versus how they ended the season?
I mean, aside from the Sixers, which we talked about, I know that might be a homer thing to say, but I think the Sixers really had, so far, it's not over yet, but so far I've had a really good summer with their personnel moves. Oklahoma City too. So I'm not a fan of Hartenstein, but he does fit of a need for them. He does fit as far as being a big man that plays physical. Throws his body around, gives him some grit. Putting him next to Chet possibly would be an intriguing lineup. That's a big lineup and a long lineup. And then on top of that, you got one of my dudes, Alex Caruso. Now they got rid of Giddey. Me and you I like Giddey, but for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the off the court stuff, but they threw him in there, and they were willing to part ways with their young talented draft pick that they had in him for Caruso. But veteran leadership, knowing how to just play basketball, Alex Caruso is such an awesome. I really wanted him this year somehow via trade.
It's such an upgrade. You go from a guy who played with LeBron, or you go to a guy who played with LeBron from a guy who, I'm sure all the off the court stuff was bringing down that locker room. Like, how can you be cool with that guy with those kind of allegations? I mean,
it's tough, I'm sure. Yeah. And I would say too, recently with the other day with Sacramento getting DeRozan, I think is a really good pickup for them. Putting him now with De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis, Malik Monk, like they've got a lot of talent at the right places in that lineup and in that rotation that they can get back into the swing of it this coming year in the Western Conference, I think. Malik Monk signing was really quiet. That was a really good re-signing because I thought he was gonna bounce.
And they did that quickly. Like they wasted time on that. They were smart to do that as quickly.
Yeah, good for them.
Sacramento, the Kings are one of those teams where I feel like you can root for them and like no one gives you shit. You know what I mean? Like as a Sixers fan, I could be like, yeah, I'm also a Kings fan. And people be like, all right. Like,
yeah. All right, that's what's up.
Yeah. It's still cute. It's fine.
Yeah.
As far as better, Chris, I had two. Listen, I know that you're not a fan of the trade. I think the Knicks got better by bringing in Bridges. I don't care that they had to give up 4 first-rounders, a couple pick swaps, a second-rounder. To me, I think that's just a good move. They lost Hartenstein, but they're able to re-sign OG. I think that they're still poised to be one of the top 3 teams in the East with that roster. And obviously the caveat for every team in the NBA, but if healthy. The other team I had written down was the New Orleans Pelicans. I like them bringing in DeJounte Murray. Get him out of a bad situation in Atlanta, try to really maximize his talents in New Orleans, and on a team where I think they're starting to almost have a little bit of the curse of going stale in the backcourt with CJ McCollum. I think he's starting to wear out his welcome in New Orleans. So bringing a little fresh blood. And the third team that I thought, I don't even think, I just like the sign. It's an intriguing signing to me, is San Antonio getting the point guard to pair with your boy Wemby. I know that Chris Paul is up there in age, but I really think that that's an interesting signing for San Antonio.
I'll tell you what, San Antonio, and I'm shocked they haven't done this, at least not yet. If they get Markkanen, that's Wemby and Markkanen for the next 5-10 years is a really good tandem, man.
I mean, I don't know their cap situation. Do you think they would potentially get Markkanen with then being able to re-sign Markkanen?
Sure.
Okay, so then
and I think the pieces that they would consider signing or re-signing, they would probably put the deal anyway. And it's like the Sixers back in, out of the process years when we were trading those guys that we already had that we knew where their ceiling was to try to get younger and see how much better we can get with those picks that we would get in trades from trading Drew and trading all those different other guys. Back then, it's kind of similar with them. Like they know that Keldon Johnson and Vassell, they know what those guys are, I think. And I wouldn't be surprised if they try to flip those dudes in that deal to get Markkanen and any picks that they might have or whatever the case may be. But that would be really intriguing to see how that played out. I want to real quick too. I can't do this without saying my boy Clay, man. I know it's not popular on here. But if he is right now with the chip on his shoulder that he's got, he's coming out there like Kevin Owens this year. He's trying to stunner everybody. He's going to try to put 5-6 threes a game on everybody at night. And I think he can do it with Luka and Kyrie by his side on that lineup. I really think that's going to end up being a really good move for Dallas. And that was one thing they struggled with, was finding guys to routinely make that open three. And like I said, this is, another year of Clay coming out of that injury, and put on top of that with his chip on his shoulder he's got from how Golden State handled that whole situation, which, by the way, I felt was disrespectful personally.
A little bit. Yeah.
But I think that's going to end up being a good move for them.
I mean, look, we'll see. Dallas, I think they traded a little bit of defense for offense with losing Derrick Jones and bringing in Klay Thompson. So we'll see how that works out, because the front court, they were grinders last year for them, and they really helped them make it to the NBA Finals. Chris, who do you think got worse?
Denver.
Yeah, I got them as well.
Denver's done nothing really the last 2 years, if you really think about it, but lose dudes. They lost Bruce Brown, Jeff Green, who was, Uncle Jeff. He was a glue piece, and that was an important thing for a team like that. Lost him. This year they lost KCP. They haven't replaced those guys with anybody of legit value.
Yeah, I have a goofy conspiracy theory that Nikola Jokic is telling them, look, I won you your title. We need to stop making it to the NBA Finals. I want to get home to Slovenia and watch my horse races and do my weird Eastern European shit. and he's like, I'll stay here as long as we keep losing. Like, let's just get rid of one guy a year. Well, it'll be a slow burn.
Slow burn right out the door.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I don't know if it's on purpose or what, but Team USA, their first game against Serbia, Joel Jokic, right off the bat. So now if the big fella all of a sudden comes up with a mysterious illness and or injury before the first Olympic game,
oh boy,
then y'all got it. Like, I can't defend that. Like, I mean, we've already we hear the whole thing about him dodging Nikola Jokic all these years in Denver and all this stuff. If he doesn't show up in that game, his first game as an Olympian, then something might be up.
Dude,
I can't see that happen.
that would be hilarious though. That would be. I mean, he's a troll.
Yeah, I can't see that happening. And by the way, on this again, like you said earlier with the ADHD podcast episode tonight, Ricky Council in the game tonight. I don't know if you got to see any summer league action because I'm just a hoop nerd. So summer league action, I still watch it. I don't care who's playing. I'll still watch it. It's still basketball. Ricky Council was a man among boys tonight, man. And that's what I look to see when I watch summer league is the young guys that are NBA players that are already coming from NBA experience doing that, being men among boys. And he had 20-something points tonight. He had a couple threes, a big dunk. He did his thing, man. And Adembona looked good.
Oh, I heard that. I did
Looked
hear
good.
That prior to coming
on. What's his name? TikTok. He was all right.
Yeah.
He was all right, but he got cold during the game. But he was okay. But Bona and Council for me were two big standouts. So that's good. That's good to see for this coming season what we're going to do with those guys.
It's good to hear about Ricky Council because first of all, I love the nickname C4, and second of all, I think he's like a rich man's Jaden Springer. Like for many years, we watched Jaden Springer perform well in summer league, and he get some minutes here and there and look okay, and we'd be like, oh, when is he going to see the floor? And if we're being honest, he's not an NBA player.
Well, I was a big Jaden Springer fan. I still think he can be an NBA player, but you're right. Summer league, he was like goated, and then he didn't really show a lot in actual NBA games. But Ricky has, Ricky's shown he's shown a little bit when he's had the chance in the actual NBA season. So he might. I'm telling you, man. I want to see what he's got. I hope they can get him some more minutes, man. I think he might be a steal.
Yeah, you do, but you must be a glutton. You're a glutton for punishment because I watched some of the LA Golden State game, I think it was, because I was watching with Jackson. And I was like, yo, Jackson, let's watch Bronny. Dude, that's some of the worst. I felt like I was just like a spectator at Houston Playground just watching like a bunch of scraps play basketball. It was embarrassingly bad.
Everybody's boy, Dalton Connect, was very mid.
No, he didn't look good at all the minutes I saw him in the game.
Yeah, he was very mid. And Bronny was very mid.
Oh, please. He hit one fadeaway jump shot when I watched. Connect looked terrible, though. And he was playing against just like awful like no-name dudes. Like no disrespect intended.
Yeah. Yeah, Bronny, I think, had like 4 points. Connect, last time I saw it, he had like 5. I don't know if he did anything after that, but now let me be clear. I like to follow Summer League with the rookies that I want to follow, their teams.
Yeah.
So it was like the first Summer League game, so I turned it on because it was just the first at all. So I just watched a little bit of it, but I probably won't be sticking around for much more Warriors and Lakers. Summer League games. But
not gonna watch any Hornets Bulls Summer League action.
No, probably not. Probably not. But the Sixers team is fun. They got a couple dudes. They got RJ Hampton, a former first round pick, on the squad this year. They got this kid. Oh my goodness, I can't remember what his name is. He was this big man. He was killing. He had like 15 and 8 in like 17 minutes.
Well, there we go. We found our answer.
Like he was. I mean,
this far into the segment without you mentioning his name. Come on, dude.
You know, it's funny. Like you figure, I bet you like Daryl and Elton and those guys probably had the same. Like, what was that guy's name on the Summer League team? Is he the big guy we had? What was his name? Like, they probably don't even know who some of these guys are.
No idea. They have no clue.
Yeah, a lot of the scouts are probably putting together these names, and they're just like, all right, throw them on there, whatever.
All right, well, that wraps up segment 2. But speaking of enjoying watching Summer League basketball, for segment 3, Chris and I have compiled some lists of some sporting events that we might enjoy watching more than the layman and vice versa, events that maybe we think are a little overrated and we don't like watching, despite the fact that they are popular, among the masses. So, Chris, listen, I have a pretty good list.
You able to get some together? Okay.
Yeah, I have some. I think I have some pretty niche events.
Nietzsche.
But I think I also, and you probably also, I have a few I think that are obvious.
Okay. Where do you want to start first? You want to do the underrated or the overrated?
Why don't we start with overrated? Because I think I don't know. We might not agree on this. I'm going to go with my what I think might be the most overrated event, and it's the Super Bowl. I think the Super Bowl is the most overrated event in sports.
That's a big hot take there.
It's and I understand the hype. It's because the NFL is the biggest, baddest, best, in America, right?
It is king. Yes,
it is king. It is king.
They gave it a holiday once a week.
Dude, for me personally, the game is so much longer because of the commercials, the halftime show. If it's two teams playing that I don't give a shit about, then I don't give a shit about the game. Why should I?
How often does that happen, Al? How often does that happen where it's two teams where people don't care about?
Me personally, it happens kind of often. Like I didn't care about who was it? Baltimore, San Fran, like just to name one.
Well, how about so we had obviously the Eagles Chiefs was a big one.
Colts Bears. I didn't care about Colts Bears.
Oh, that was back in the day. Yeah.
Right.
I'm just talking about within the last handful of years. Like you had they had with the Bengals Rams. That was a good one.
I mean, okay.
Burrow and those guys that was good. You had last year's with the Chiefs and 49ers.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
That was fine.
And they were good games.
How about the Patriots and the Rams?
Well, no, I mean that game set the Super Bowl back.
Yeah, I mean, come on. And then just the last thing is that how the NFL is king and this should be a holiday, but everybody still has to go to work the next day.
So they're fixing that.
They're all stay up until 11:30 at night, 12 midnight, and then we have to go to work the next day with bellies full of hot wings and beer.
Yeah, and they're fixing that. And I will say this. They're going to have it where it's going to be on the weekend of President's Day so that everybody's off on Monday, which we've had. I mean, people have talked about this for years.
Right.
Why are they just figuring this out?
So obvious.
Like these white billionaire men that own these NFL teams that don't know what day it is ever because they don't need to know because they're filthy rich.
Yep.
Like it made so much sense in the world. The only thing that's bad about the Super Bowl is every year that I think it's what's that stat? I think that day after is the worst domestic violence day of the year. And that is because people always lose bets and then they take it out on their spouses or significant others, kids, all kind of stuff. That's awful. That's the worst thing about it. Other than that, I think top to bottom, you have the commercials, which are events. You have the game, obviously, which is events. And then the halftime is an event. Even the national, and I mean, you do the like the bingo cards or whatever and it encompasses all of it. So like you're enthralled in the experience from 6 o'clock to 10:30, basically nonstop.
Yeah,
no other event has that.
No, I get it, and look, I participate, right? Like I get in the box pools, I do the questionnaire pools, like I do that stuff. But to me, it's just like there's so many other better events that don't have all the pomp.
Man,
I need less pomp, guess. If it had like 40% less pomp and 10% more circumstance, I'd be in.
You might be more of a fan of the Nietzsche sports then if you can't get down with the Super Bowl, Jack.
All right, give me your first. Give me your first one.
So, I mean, do you have more overrated than underrated on your list?
I have more. I have 7 and 8.
Okay, because I would say that would fit like how society typically is. We all want to bitch and moan more than praise. So
I found it easier to come up with the underrated, actually.
Yeah, see, I got significantly more overrateds than underrateds, but I'll go with look. Let's stay with the NFL because the Super Bowl for me is not overrated, but the NFL Combine, is terrible. And I mean, we've talked before about like, you've coached football before. I coach football like currently still with kids and stuff like that. And we teach skills and this and that. We get it. But when I turn on the TV and I watch grown men just dangling around, literally and figuratively, with their like unitards on running 40-yard dashes and cone drills. And I got to say it, man. Like, I know there's a pocket of people that hate that and don't get it, but it is slavery undertones, man. Like, when you look at what they did in slave trades, that's exactly what they would have guys up there and women. They'd slap their behinds. They'd feel how hard their bodies were. They'd have them do different tasks and chores to see if they want to invest in them. There's no different in what the combine itself does. Now, when you talk about, well, those guys are going to get paid all this money, this and that, but at the time, they're not paid anything. They don't get paid to be at the combine. They're just getting their bodies looked at and tested out and everything else the whole time, and half naked at that. So I don't get any enjoyment out of that from the actual like aesthetics of it, looking at it, or what it means in a deeper sense. I just don't like it. I don't even really understand why they do it, because you can have pro days and do all kind of other stuff all the same at these college campuses. That they like, some guys now don't even go to the combine anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you're missing out on the best guys anyway if they don't want to do anything other than their pro day. So what are we really looking at? 4th and 5th and 6th round picks?
Right. The only reason why I don't have it as overrated is because I've never cared about it. I've never cared about the combine. I've never liked it. I've never watched it. I don't care about it. So it's not overrated. Again, because the pomp factor isn't there. There's no pomp.
And and half the skills that you do at the combine, they don't equate.
Right.
I don't care what the scouts say. Like, there's been a lot of times they've gotten things wrong because they had Joe Blow didn't do well in a cone drill, or so-and-so didn't have a leap over 30 inches.
Yeah,
who cares?
The long jump.
Who cares what a guard can leap at? Like, they're never going to be doing that in the game.
Well, Chris, it might be better for you. It might be good for you that you had girls, because let me tell you what, when Jackson started playing football in our little, organization here in Springfield 2 years ago, they have combines for 5-year-olds, for the 5-year-olds that are entering into flag football. They do. I went and helped out, and I helped time the 40-yard dash, actually with friend of the pod, Matt McConaughey, who him and I weren't friends at the time. We were just two men clicking away clocks, writing down numbers for
5-year-olds.
5-year-olds. Now, I'll tell you why, and then we'll move on real quick. The only reason why is because they try to even the teams out. So if they can have somewhat of an idea of which kids are like the quote unquote more athletic, like just more football ready, maybe than you know what I mean? Like, because they're 5.
Yeah.
So you can have a kid that's completely and utterly out to lunch. And then you can have a kid who might be the youngest of 4 brothers and has been, roughhousing playing football for his whole life because his older brothers do. Well, there's going to be a humongous gap. So to try and make the teams fair, they rate out the kids in that way to see, like, okay, these kids actually ran the 40. These kids were picking their nose at the starting line for 10 seconds.
Right. And you want to see who can catch a ball and who knows what, like who could throw a ball, that kind of stuff. That's a little bit. I mean, I still don't know if I'm crazy about that, but it's wild. It's still a different dynamic versus like, seeing body fat measurements and all that kind of like next level stuff. But it's just, I don't know. I don't really think they can figure that stuff out as far as who they want to invest their money in and their skill set and athleticism without having to do this stuff. And then they broadcast it now, and it's just like 4 days where the NFL just gets 4 more days of broadcasting.
Yeah.
So that's what I would start off with, is that for the overrated combine.
I have one more overrated event that's connected to football. And for me, it's the college football playoffs.
Okay.
I mean, you talk about an event that for however many years now, we have 4 teams make these playoffs, which was supposed to fix everything, when in reality it did nothing. Because how many times have those semifinal games been blowouts because the 3rd and 4th seeded teams did not belong? They were not in the same class as the Alabamas and the Georgias and whomever else, the Clemsons for a number of years. Even Florida State, the line between that 2nd team and that 3rd team, it's such a huge gap. I don't need that. I do not need the extra 2 teams. And now we're moving to 12 teams, which is going to help fan bases of schools like my alma mater. I got my Penn State hat on, because you're going to be able to say, well, we made the playoffs. Who gives a shit if you made the playoffs as a 7 seed, a 5 seed, even a 3 or 4 seed, and you just got your doors blown off by Georgia 49-3. What does it really matter at the end of the day? I get it's all money grab, but what does it really matter?
See, I've thought of this whole intricate situation for college football, but I actually go the other way with that. I think there should actually be more teams in the college football playoffs.
No, not football.
I actually think there should be 16 teams, and here's why.
Competitive though, they're not competitive.
But so here's why. So if you do 16 teams, the biggest thing for years was, all right, we can't play football for the most part between like Thanksgiving break and New Year's because of finals and things like that for the kids at before the holidays, things like that during the break. But now these kids are making money playing this game. So now I don't want to hear about none of that. So that whole month that we would have no college football, that's when you should have the tournament. And the reason why I would do that is you're still going to make the money. You're going to, at that point, make the bowl games that you have now, integrate them into the 16-team tournament. So like the first round, the 1 versus 16 or however you want to have it might be the Independence Bowl or the Motor City Bowl or the Avocados Bowl or whatever the hell they want to have, whatever company, the 3 in the Keystone Bowl.
Oh.
Okay. Put our money together, get a bowl game.
By Duke's Mayo.
Okay. So like for me, you could do that, keep the bowl game still involved, but also you get a definitive champion. There's no more conversations about, well, if Alabama had just gotten into the BCS playoff and they could have matched up well with Georgia or Michigan or Texas, for a fact, there's 16 of y'all. If you still got a debate after that, I don't tell you, like you're going to have a definitive clear-cut Division I national champion. And you're not going to miss football any of the weeks. So you're not going to have those dry weeks where you don't have anything going on. You're going to still have meaningful games throughout this whole time. Because we know the bowl system stinks right now. Like all these bowl games, and they're like, Temple versus Florida Atlantic, right? In the Meineke, whatever. Like most people don't care about those games.
Yeah.
But if you put it in as a game in the BCS tournament, it might be a little bit different.
Right.
So that's my logic. But I understand where you're coming from as far as, sometimes these matchups recently have gotten a little bit out of hand, but that could be also the committee's fault.
Yeah, well, we've just either gotten meaningless games or we've gotten non-entertaining games.
Yeah, and again,
there's only one game that matters, and it's the championship game. And I know I'm in the minority when I say it, but I was fine with them just voting for the 2 best teams because they rarely got it wrong. If we're being honest,
how do we know?
They rarely.
There was teams every year with that were like, we should have won. Like, I could not. We're on the 2 different pages on this one. I could not stand that 2-team playoff or that 2-team championship. There's so many different caveats that you could throw in there for other teams didn't make that game.
All right, well, caveats. Give me another overrated. Let's
see niches and caveats.
Let me see bring all your caveats to the table now.
So recently, because today being July 8th, the other day we saw the Nathan's hot dog eating contest.
Yep.
Overrated. I don't get the allure of it. I think that the allure of it is just to basically kind of look down on these dudes. I'll be honest with you, they're like filth eating a bunch of hot dogs to try to
total buffoonery.
Like it's just weird, man, and it's not natural. And they're out in the heat in Coney Island, and it's over in 20 minutes or whatever it is, and then that's it. And then these guys go back into oblivion for a whole nother year. It's just weird to me. I don't get it.
So that to me is the appeal of it. It's a sideshow. It's a circus. But the one thing I think that you're missing here that is exceptional every year is the announcer. That dude needs to get a promotion.
He's a professional, bro.
Yes, he's the man. I wish I knew his name. I wish I had a clip that I could play of him like introducing someone because he nails every introduction, even for the jobber dudes that like Tim Eater X Janice. Like he even nails him, dude. I don't think it's overrated because to me it's a sideshow.
What's the most hot dogs you've ever eaten in a sitting?
In my younger days, I probably got up to like 4 or 5 glizzies in one sitting, I would say.
I think it's about, yeah. And you felt full as hell, right?
Yeah. That's like, back in the day too. Like I ate a whole pizza once when I was like
Same.
14, 15 years old. I could never do that today.
Yeah. See, I could, but I know what it would do to me.
Yeah,
it would destroy me.
Yeah, that's no good, dude. All that
I'd be
oil.
ravaged.
Yeah, you can't do that, dude.
Um,
and if you got all the caveats on it too, you can't.
Little niche, little peppers and onions and all kind of stuff. There's some tarragon on there or something. Some crazy caveats.
Some baby peas and caveats. I got a few more. Let's shut down overrated after this next one. We'll go one quick and then we'll move on.
Okay.
I'll say the Tour de France. That's overrated.
That's on mine.
That's
yes.
Overrated. Yeah.
Anything with France, for real. I'm out.
I'm not into watching guys ride bikes. I'm also not into distance anything. I don't think many people are. So
marathons, not for me. Like you want to do it for charity, that's awesome. Just write a check.
Yeah.
You got to run 26 miles.
Yeah, that's a lot.
The human 13 miles for the average, regular folks.
Yeah, human body do that.
Speaking of being like in a minority of something, I was a big supporter of the bike race in Manayunk getting shut down. I was totally happy with that. That thing, because all it was, first of all, nobody gave a hot damn about that race.
No, that was a drinking event.
Yeah, all it was for people to just go and get plastered, throw up on the streets, litter the streets. And we lived there. Like that was our, like, you know what I mean? Like we lived 2 minutes down the street. So like I was totally fine with them getting rid of that. I know I'm in the minority on that, but yeah, I'm with you with the Tour de France. It's not. And then we had scumbags like Pistorius and Lance Armstrong in it.
Yeah, it's tainted. It's all tainted.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so give me one more then, Gust.
So I'll go right to my number one because I had a list of probably like 10, but I will riff them at the end just real quick. But number one for me is this whole Savannah Bananarama thing. You know what I'm talking about with the baseball?
We couldn't be on more opposite.
Dude, you like that?
This fence. Have you watched it?
I watched it yesterday. It was on TV. It was packed.
We watched the same one against the firefighters.
Yeah, dude. The game, first of all, it's like 2-1. My man's out there trying to do behind the back diving catches.
It's awesome.
They have they literally just catch the ball and throw it. Like I don't know how their arms don't fall off. And like the whole gimmicks of wearing like motorcycle helmets and freaking like fedoras during the game. Like, what is this?
You are insane, dude. It is so much. First of all, the whole game is predicated around speed.
Right, it's time. Yeah,
fantastic. The pitchers are just throwing those balls in. Boom, boom.
You imagine Garrett Cole just getting the ball?
Yeah, dude, that's fantastic. I don't understand the scoring system, but from what I understand, every inning can quote end in a walk-off. So one dude hit a home run in like the second inning, and it was just treated like a walk-off home run. They were all celebrating.
It's so weird, dude. And it just seems
they switched sides and just continued the game.
It's so strange. And then it just seems like a bro sport that went viral and blew up.
No, dude, it's kids, man. I got tickets. I entered the lottery and I got tickets. I'm going to go in September with Jackson.
So where are they going to be at?
Citizens Bank.
Oh my God.
Not only
it'll probably be packed too.
It will, dude. It's sold out. And not only that, the tickets were just as much as a Phillies game. They were.
Why? I you know what?
Dude,
that's some typical like American, like just make something out of nothing.
It's a spectacle, dude. It was smart marketing. You know what it was? It was the Sonic drive-through marketing where for years you started to hear about and see clips of them, but they only played in Savannah or in the South.
Right.
So now they're finally taking it nationwide. So we've been waiting for years, just like we waited for Sonic for years when they put those friggin' commercials on with those two dopes sitting in the front seat.
Oh yeah.
Arguing over dumb stuff. And for years we were like, oh, I want to get my hands on this slushy or whatever, and we couldn't. So then when it finally opened, everybody flocked to Sonic.
But do you think a baseball, like a major leaguer, do you think they respect those dudes?
Respect? Yeah, I do.
You think so?
I do.
See, I thought they would think it's a mockery of their game.
No, I don't, because they don't treat it as baseball. It's treated as entertainment. Like, do you think that the NBA players disrespect the Harlem Globetrotters?
No, but there's history with the Globetrotters, though. That's deeper than so that might play into it too.
History has to start somewhere. I mean, this is obviously an homage to the Globetrotters, I would imagine, if you asked somebody who helped start this team.
Well, for the record, the Globetrotters are number 2 on my list. So.
Oh boy! All right, let's get to underrated, because this is crazy.
Number 2 on mine, yeah.
Give me one of your top. Well, let's do 2 because we're running long. So let's just do 2 each for underrated that we talk about, and then we'll say the whole list.
Underrated. I'll say my number. I'll do my number 1 last. I'm going to say the Olympics.
There you go.
Summer or winter.
Yeah.
I'm in on either one of them.
But it depends on the events. It's specific events are underrated.
But see, it's cool too to see events that we don't normally see. Like, for instance, like curling in the Winter Olympics. Like we never see that.
Right.
But it's cool to see it. Or for the Summer Olympics, really even track and field. Like, track and field is not a game. I mean, not an event that's covered all the time. Like, you got to have, like, all jokes aside, like, there's a niche following for it. Yep. And there's people that really follow it very strong and thoroughly. But a lot of times those people are former track runners or former track and field competitors themselves in school or whatever, and they stay with following it. But the everyday regular person, I don't think that, we go out of our way to see stuff like that until the Olympics.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, track and field is fantastic to watch during the Summer Olympics.
Oh, for sure.
The only events, and I mentioned it earlier, that I don't like watching are like the marathon events. Like, it's the, you know what I mean? It's the long distance running.
Well, you said you're not a fan of long things.
Yeah, because there's nothing. What are you going to do? You're going to watch it for 3 hours? You can't.
But you do appreciate it though,
no,
right? Because when they, like, for swimming, for instance, when they have like the 2,000 meters or whatever, and they just go back and forth like 20 times, that's nuts.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I respect it. I appreciate it. All that stuff. I can't watch it. I went to one swim meet in my life, guest, and it was when we were at Carroll.
Oh yeah, I know what that was about.
It was down at Drexel. My poor city kid ass had to take the train in and everything, dude.
You were a good soldier for that.
You're in that hot ass natatorium, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And then you're there and there's no excitement. Like, it's just like you're just watching bodies float across the pool back and forth over and over.
Yeah. I will say though, two sports in the Olympics specifically, water polo and synchronized swimming. To do that and tread water at the same time is insane.
Yeah, you're a machine if you can do
that.
Like,
how do they do that?
I don't know, dude. They're aliens. I honestly don't know. I don't know.
Crazy. Yeah. So I give them all the respect in the world. Any Olympian, you qualify for any Olympics, any game, any sport in the Olympics is incredible. And what it does for your love of country and appreciation, and the dreams that are met from the competitors, those guys and girls that literally just dream to be Olympian and had that moment happen and go on the podium when they get a medal and things like that. Like, that's awesome, man. And it makes you feel good every time.
Yeah, Casey always used to say that she's not a fan of men crying, but she would give a man a pass to cry for 2 things. Number 1 was if you got diagnosed with a terminal illness. Number 2 was if you won a gold medal at the Olympics and you're standing on the podium and your national anthem is playing.
Damn. So when you got the kids, you still no pass for that?
That's it, dude. Those are the only 2 things I'm allowed to cry over. And I'm damn sure never winning an Olympic gold medal. So,
well, for the record, hopefully you don't get a terminal illness. So hopefully we just don't see you cry every time. For the record, I did not cry for the birth of my twins because I was so in the moment of making sure everything went right. It kind of, my anxiety kind of kicked in and took over emotion. But
I mean, for anybody that's been in that room, it's a lot of moving parts real fast.
Yeah, for sure.
There's really no time to cry. I did tear up once like Jackson was out and like I was holding him and everything, but
it makes you feel like you're like, oh my God, I'm a parent now. And that was the first thought I had.
Yeah.
And I'm responsible for another life.
Yeah.
And my life now is never gonna be the same. That definitely comes in that moment. But like I was just so in the moment of just like being like the hubby and the daddy bear at the same time. Like I was just, calm, direct quarterbacking.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so that'd be mine for the Olympics.
All right, here's my unpopular take. Underrated. I have NBA All-Star Weekend. I am still such a little kid fan of the skills competition, the dunk contest, the 3-point contest, the rookie sophomore game, and even the celebrity game. I'm still such like a closet fan of all. I love all. It's because to me, it's just fun. I love it. Even the years, and it's usually stretches of 3 and 4 years in a row when the dunk contest sucks. I still love it. I love it.
Yeah, see, that was no, that was my overrated list actually.
Yeah,
I'm with you. But the last few years, the All-Star game and the dunk contest have been just a dreck. It's been terrible. But in the prime, yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, we would go and hang out, go to someone's house and watch All-Star Saturday night, dunk contest, 3-point contest, all that kind of stuff. You watch the game, you want to see the legends go at each other. But now it's like they don't even go at each other anymore. They're just out there to just make their appearance and bounce.
Well, what I should have said was not All-Star Weekend because the game I'm out.
Okay,
the game I'm out. All the
festivities.
Yeah, all the appetizers is what, because I know a lot of people these days want to get rid of the dunk contest. Why? It's just fun, dude. The year that almost killed it. Do you remember the year when they had that stupid wheel? And they spun the wheel, and it was like do a Dr. J dunk, but like these guys are aliens now, and so to do a Dr. J dunk is like seeing like a layup.
Yeah.
They
actually had a span of them. They had a string of dunk contests on NBA TV the last few days during 4th of July weekend, and I was watching a few of them. They were like little half-hour spurts, and I watched 92, I think, at one point. And it was worlds different than like 98. Like in 6 years of time, it was like a 20-year skill gap.
Yeah.
And then they had the 1 year where it was like Jamario Moon and like all these jobber like it was terrible.
Here's
something or something like that.
I distinctly remember having $20 on Jamario Moon to win that dunk contest.
You would have had Jamario. He was one with Toronto, was it?
Yeah, that might have been the worst bet I ever made in my life.
I don't even know if he ever made a jump shot in the NBA.
No. He probably never even dribbled the basketball on a court in the NBA. But I will close with this, with NBA All-Star Weekend. Strap in, because if they are smart, and they introduced it this past season with the Steph Curry, Sabrina Ionescu one-on-one showdown. Dude, if they're smart, they're going to lean all the way into this, and they're going to capitalize on this WNBA spike in popularity, and they're going to have Caitlin Clark. They're going to have Sabrina. They're going to have Breanna Stewart. They're going to even have Angel Reese in some capacity. They got to lean in on that, because that would be must-see TV. If there was some kind of mixed doubles 3-point contest or skills contest, that would be really fun to watch.
See, I think they got it. So I got 2 ideas. One is get rid of the skills competition. I don't care about NBA players. Every single NBA player should be able to bounce past a ball into a hoop.
You would think, though. I mean, that really embarrasses some of those guys.
Remember when Maxey and Scotty Barnes?
The layup? Dude, Barnes is so funny in that clip, in that entire.
You ever see that clip on social media where they show all the dumbest things Scotty Barnes has ever done?
Yes. Yeah. He's hilarious.
But get rid of that and have a big 3. Just have a 3-on-3 tournament. And then that could be co-ed. You can make it where you got 2 stars and a WNBA star. 3-on-3. I think that would be cool.
I think the problem is that's too competitive. Like,
you think that
agents aren't going to go for that.
But see, we got to get that. That's
I-
what's got to change, man. They got to want to go at each other during that weekend. Like, I'm
I
not saying to sit up there and be, like Game 7, but like at the same time, have pride. You know what I mean? Like,
I know. And the only way you're going to do that is if it's the guys that aren't all-stars. It's the Jamario Moons of the world. That's the only way you're going to have guys that actually want to compete.
yeah. And the other idea I was going to have too was, and I was going to run it by both of you tonight, but since Seltzer is skinny dipping or whatever the hell he's doing, so instead of the in-season tournament for the NBA, you get rid of, like, you keep the in-season tournament, but you get rid of that format. And the format should be in the same way. I got to bring soccer into this. In the same way soccer has a lot of club and country games. So, like, you'll have Premier League will be playing, and then you'll have a week or two off where they'll have international games because those players are all in their international teams. So instead of doing that for the NBA, do it even more localized and have a tournament with like a native tournament in the sense of, if you're from Philly, you're on the Philly team. If you're from Detroit, you're on the Detroit team. So like everybody that's from wherever big city or closest, that grew up to the closest big city that in their close proximity to where they were born and raised, can play on that team. Even having tri-state. So like you could have Philly, South Jersey, Delaware as one team. New York, North Jersey, and Connecticut is one team. Orlando and Miami, all Florida could be one team. And if, the argument could be like, well, what if you're got guys that are from different places or not from those areas? Screw them, and they're not in it.
Yeah, you're out.
Like you get like eight big city, like wherever at the time the majority of these guys are from. So for instance, if there's 8 guys that are from Philly in the NBA, they're on the Philly team. If there's 8 guys from the Seattle, they're on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, Southern California, LA, San Diego, they're on one team.
Yeah.
I think that'd be kind of cool.
That'd be fun. I'd watch that. Because
the in-season tournament, we've talked before, like, people don't care about that.
Seltzer loves it.
It's not that it's a drag, but it's just weird. It's just like they're trying to put a square peg in a round hole.
It's pointless. It's absolutely pointless.
And for the Lakers to be a franchise that they are and have a banner for that is just embarrassing.
It is. It's completely embarrassing.
So I was just thinking today, I was like, dude, instead of like club country, have club and city origin.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't hate that idea at all.
It builds rivalries up. You know what I mean? Like that'd be an idea I would want to do. But to close this out for me, my number 1 is back to soccer, the World Cup.
I got the World Cup on my underrated list. The World Cup is a phenomenal watch.
Awesome. Yeah. It's, I mean, even the UEFA, the Euro Cup right now is fantastic. I'm not as much into the Copa America because it's just European soccer is just elite, man. Like, I mean, even if you watch, like right now with, England's my team, and they've actually never won a Euro Cup, and they haven't won like the World Cup since like 66 or something like that. Dude, I tell you guys all the time, if you want to get behind a team that reminds you of Philly, it's England. England always finds a way to be a dope squad and screw themselves over at the end somehow, just like a Philly team would. They got the dudes, they got the momentum. They had they go up and down. Some days you're like, this is the year, and all of a sudden something happens. Yeah. So that's what draws me to them all the time, and Tottenham the same way in the Premier League. But World Cup is awesome, and to see the pride of these countries, it like. Honestly, and I know it's because we're still trying to figure the game out, but the pride for these countries is so much stronger than ours is at this point. For United States, like we can take it or leave it. Those countries live and die by that. You know what I'm saying? And you see it in the stands, you see it on the field. Ronaldo the other day missed a penalty kick that would have sent Portugal to the next round. Now they ended up winning anyway later on in the game. But Ronaldo, who has $1 gazillion and every woman in the world that wants to lay up with him, and he's up there crying, like bawling. Casey would have not been happy with that.
No, she's not having that, dude.
He was a mess.
No.
He was a mess. But because he felt like he let his country down. And we don't have that here.
She might give him a pass if it was the World Cup, but not for the Copacabana, dude. It's got to be something. It's got to be for something a little bit more prestige.
Not the cornucopia or the Bananarama.
No, I'm with you, dude. I'm with you on the World Cup, and even the women's side too. I get into
Yes.
the women's World Cup as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I a few World Cups ago, I was a big Belgium backer because I was a fan of Romelu Lukaku.
Lukaku, yeah. Okay.
And I was a fan of Lukaku, but they fell well short. I think they
always
got ousted in like the round of 16.
Yeah.
That year. All right.
He apparently has a little Tobias Harris in him. Lukaku.
Yeah, he's starting to get that label of just being kind of a choke. All right. Well, that was I said my two. Did I say two? I don't know if I said.
Yeah,
two.
you got two.
All right. Well, let me round the list out here. The rest of my underrated, I had non-Triple Crown horse races. So just horse racing in general is underrated. Bago. I love Bago. Cornhole that they show on ESPN. I could play it all day and I could watch it all day.
The ESPN Ocho, all those sports.
Ocho. Yes, the Ocho.
I'm a fan of wiffle ball broadcasts. I like the wiffle ball.
Dude, the one what's the ball called that like goes crazy? It's not a wiffle ball. I don't know what it is. Yeah. That's I don't know how you hit that thing.
I don't know either. Yeah.
The last two I had on my list, they're newer to the scene. But have you watched either Power Slap or Car-Jitsu?
Well, hold on. Is Power Slap when it's just the two people and they just slap the hell out of each other? Yeah, I've seen that. That. That's like that's nuts.
So you got Power Slap, but have you watched Car-Jitsu yet?
I have not seen Car-Jitsu.
Okay, so listen to this, dude. So Car-Jitsu, the way it works, two people are sitting in the front seat of a car in the driver and passenger seat, okay? Their seatbelts are buckled. The match begins. They must unbuckle themselves and then immediately start attacking the person next to them in the car. They can use anything in the car. So they can use the seatbelt buckles. They can use the steering wheel. They can use like the side of the window.
Wait, so they got to go into the other person's vehicle?
No, they're in the same vehicle sitting next to each other, dude.
Oh.
Okay. So they have to unbuckle their seatbelt because they're start buckled. And then they just start going at it like an MMA fight within the confines of a car. Now there's three rounds. Okay. So
some Florida man stuff.
If there's a tie after the first two rounds, the last round takes place in the back seat.
And they got to go to the trunk for that.
This just got bots, the trunk match. This just got legalized to bet on in New Jersey.
Well,
you can bet.
How many before this was even a thing? How many times did this happen in New Jersey? This probably already was a thing in New Jersey.
Dude, these are probably in Quiggs's Wildwood parking lot, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, yo, you will hop in. Hey, yo,
we do that Car-Jitsu thing on Friday night, dude.
Let me buckle you in. Safety first.
I need my seatbelt on. I've seen apparently there's chess boxing.
So I've seen that.
Yeah, but the Car-Jitsu, but the power slap, that's just barbaric, man.
Dana White is an investor. He's behind it.
Dude, that's nuts, man.
Yeah.
What else did you have on there?
That was all my underrated. So what were the rest of your underrated?
So underrated for me, I had big time boxing matches. So like with big superstars, we just had the Frank Martin Tank Davis fight a few weeks ago. Tank Davis, probably the second best fighter in the world right now. And yeah, WrestleMania and the Royal Rumble I put on my list. Now, WrestleMania is arguable because it might not be underrated because a lot of people do watch it, but the Royal Rumble, we've talked before, like you could argue that's even better than WrestleMania.
Yeah.
As far as the show itself with the Rumble match and all that kind of stuff. So I had to get my wrestling druthers in there. And Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
Always a fun day.
I think that's rated just right, in my opinion. Like I don't think it's underrated because I think people love it.
Yeah, it's a good day. And then kind of tied in with the Olympics, but I was saying just the appreciation of sports that like so for the summertime, like gymnastics, and for the wintertime, the figure skating.
Yeah, I had the
They're
same.
always on TV all the time too. And like I remember when I was growing up and I'd watch with my mom like the figure skating with like Brian Boitano and Victor Petrenko and Katarina Witt.
Yo, what a name.
Katarina Witt, she was out there. What's the chick that was cute? Lipinski, Tara Lipinski.
Oh yeah.
Like all those. So that's kind of underrated, I think.
A lot of those names committed to memory, guess.
Yeah, man. I was deep in that back in the day. But and then of course, like I said, to top it off with the Olympics itself and the World Cup are my top two.
Okay. All right. What do you got for overrated?
Combine, I said, hot dog eating contest, Tour de France. I agree with you. The X Games.
I'm okay with them. They're fine.
Really?
I just don't care about them.
I feel like it's so 90s, and like I don't care if you could rollerblade on a staircase down a library outside or something.
Some of that shit is impressive. The big
Oh
jump.
no, don't get me wrong.
The big jump is fun to watch.
Yeah, I give him credit for doing it. It's just that like I don't know. It seems kind of juvenile to me.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't get into it. The Army Navy game.
Ooh.
Now, I don't. First of all, as a football person, like the Army offense and the Navy offense are just so friggin' boring. It's hard to watch them go at it. And then also, where are we going to have this game at? It's always been here, and then they moved it to Baltimore, and then they put it into. It's like it's not even like a Philly thing. I don't feel like anymore. That was the one allure to it I had was like the president comes and everybody's here from the military, all the branches of the military, and now it's just like. And that's again, it's not always competitive.
No, I'm surprised that's on your list though, because that's more about like the prestige and everything than it is about the game itself, which is kind of like why I have the Super Bowl as overrated. Like I'm not.
Yeah,
I can see where
you're coming from with that. The current home run derby, the format.
Okay.
I hate the format. When we were kids, when it was 10 outs and that was it. Now I love that.
Yeah.
But right now, currently, I hate the format. The Pro Bowl. Needless to say, is terrible. I mentioned the dunk contest, and then the Indy 500 and Daytona 500.
I got that exact thing. Yeah,
huge events. Don't get any of them. I don't understand it. Not a fan, obviously, of racing in general, but I will say, being a fanatic, not a fanatic, but a fan of Europe and the European, European things in this household. I know that Europe loves them some Formula One. But like the Indy, you're just watching these dudes just drive around for 4 hours.
Yeah.
How do you know, like, what the hell? I mean, I'd get sick watching it, to be honest with you, personally, if I was there. And then I mentioned the Globetrotters and the banana hammocks, whatever the hell you want to call it. That's got to be a team name, right? The banana hammocks. You got to have a hammocks team.
It should be.
And then they go out there with banana hammocks and play baseball.
It should be a team name, and I don't know about apparel, but sure, why not?
Dude, that's a gold mine right there.
The only ones I have that you haven't mentioned, because I also had Daytona 500, Indy 500. So hear me out on this. I had WrestleMania on my overrated list in more of a historic sense, in that like there were many WrestleManias back in the day, like when we watched during the Attitude Era and a little bit beyond that like were not the best card by far of the year. Like sometimes it was overshadowed, overmatched by Survivor Series. Sometimes it was by SummerSlam. Sometimes it was by like even like Hell in the Cell. So there were some weak WrestleManias back in the day. Now these days, not being a wrestling fan anymore, though, I do see all the spectacle, what they've made it out to be, the 2 nights. And they really put all their effort into it nowadays.
Oh,
so,
yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So not so much nowadays, but I think historically, I remember as a kid sometimes walking away from WrestleMania and being like, yeah, that wasn't that great.
Right.
And then the only one that I have left, and this is for you, Seltzer, if you made it this far, are the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup. I'm out on the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup. I don't enjoy it. It's football season has started. I don't understand why I have to root for this all of a sudden made up like allegiance to the US or to Europe or to whatever it is. Like it's to me, it's almost as fabricated as the in-season tournament for the NBA. And I know that that's probably sacrilege to say as a golf fan, but here I am.
You're not on the Keegan Bradley train? Captain America, the new Captain America.
I know people are pissed. I couldn't give a shit less, dude. I really couldn't. I really don't care about the Ryder Cup.
Honestly, man, I couldn't either. I contemplated putting it on there. And I honestly, if Seltzer was on it, I probably would have put it on there just to get a rise out of him. But and maybe he agrees. I don't know. Who knows? But probably not. But I agree with you. I'm not.
No,
I find myself sometimes rooting for certain golfers that happen to not be American, and then here I am rooting for the world team, for the Europe team.
Look, dude, look at last year's Ryder Cup, for instance. You had Cantlay and Xander Schauffele treating it like a joke. Or
Right.
I don't know if they were treating it like a joke, but with all the stuff with them not wearing hats and the rumor that they wanted to get paid, like, I don't want to. I'm done. I'm out. I'm watching football. I'm out.
Yeah, I would agree with that, actually. I would agree with that.
Which all fantasy football also is overrated. I know that's not an event, but it's overrated. You just have too many other options this day and age with gambling.
I'm a seven-time champ, brother.
Coincides with my retirement guest. I'm not impressed. All right. You're beating up on all the caveats.
Hey, we're about to land this plane now.
Yeah,
we're headed for a landing.
The runway is clear.
We're headed for a landing.
The runway is clear, guest. Since I opened the show, if you want to go ahead, I don't know if you want to say the tagline or you want to make your own up, but I'll hand you the mic.
Well, for July 8th, 2024, let's wrap it up and drop that beat.